Hello and welcome. It's Frances here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support my channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the land upon which I reside. So we have a super full moon coming up on, it's going to be Friday on the 5th here in Adelaide, South Australia, which is going to be culminating at 9:44 a.m. in 30 degrees of Gemini. Other parts of the world, especially in the US, it's going to be happening on Thursday, which is the 4th of December. So when we have a full moon, this means that the moon and sun are opposite each other, and the sun is sort of illuminating, shining all its light onto Lady Luna, exposing what has been hidden in the shadows, bringing something to our conscious awareness, which is quite interesting since we've just had a Mercury retrograde. And it's also culminating, it's at the end of the lunar cycle, so it's bringing things to an end. And to gain a little bit more insight, if you have a copy of your birth or natal chart, look to see where 13 degrees of Gemini, what house it falls in, because this will sort of relate to that particular area in your life, especially if you've got planet or points there, because that could also come into play. So I said the sun is opposite, so the sun is actually in 13 degrees of Sagittarius, sort of shining the light on the bigger picture as to what is actually important, which is more and more essential these days, into the grander scheme of things. And both Venus and Mars are also in Sagittarius. So there may be a sense of you sort of like really unpacking your priorities, looking to see what really matters to you for the longer term. This is also a super full moon, which means that the moon is closer to the Earth and it's ecliptic around the Earth, which can heighten emotions. It does sort of pull more on the tide, so we could have high tides or higher than normal tides, and it could also have a pull on the tectonic plates, so we could have earthquakes, etc. And this Gemini Sagittarius axis is all about communication. It's about knowledge. It's about balancing personal desires with external implications, how things that we are learning about are actually affecting our everyday life decisions. So circling back to Gemini itself, it's the astrological sign of the divine twins. It's about choices, details, logistics of everyday life, especially at this time of the year. The planetary ruler is Mercury, and as I said right at the beginning, Mercury's just come out of its last retrograde session for the year. Mercury is connected in with communication, in particular social media and the internet these days, information, ideas, getting into the facts. And Mercury has actually sort of moved back into Scorpio. So it's in the sort of like called the shadow period before it begins to move forward. So it's a bit private. It's sort of going through the hidden stage of things that are not yet coming up to the surface. Still processing what has been sort of revealed during the retrograde season. So you may find that you're actually doing this internally. You may be holding something a little bit closer to your chest, waiting for all those ducks to line up in the row, so to speak, before bringing it into light. And due to there being a Water Grand Trine, which I'll be talking about in a moment, this may actually relate to a lot of emotional stuff that you have been working through, processing these emotions, these feelings that have come up into your conscious awareness. And these choices that are being made are important due to the moon being 13 degrees of Gemini, and it's actually squaring. Square is a 90-degree angle, the nodes of fate, the lunar nodes. So we've got the north node at 13 degrees of Pisces, which is all about our future direction, while our karmic past is the South Node, which is at 13 degrees of Virgo. And it also means that the Sun is squaring the nodes and we have a Grand Cross. So you may realize that you have been operating, that you've been planning or even making choices out of obligations as opposed to personal, deeper desires. Virgo is about what has worked before, sort of that a well-trodden path, the familiarity of things, because they have been established. These are our patterns, our routines, and there's no need to question them. However, when we're adding the Sun to this equation, as I said, this equals the sort of a mutable Grand Cross, because all these planets are in mutable signs. It's almost like we are now at a crossroads, indicating a choice needs to be made about something possibly connected into karma, what we've brought through from our karmic past, the South Node, or energetics we've brought into this lifetime to resolve what we have learnt, where we have been, and the North Node, as I said, is our future direction, what is needing to be resolved in order for us to move forward. So the South Node is about the past, what we've learnt. North Node is where we are heading. Virgo, the South Node, is related to daily habits. It's about people pleasing to the extent that your desires become invisible due to the self-sacrificing. And one of the astrologers that I follow, and their link is below because I'm not an astrologer, I just have interest in astrology, Pam Gregory mentions that this is the time of karmic choice. What choice will you be making in order to move forward? And regardless of whether you actually believe in karma or the threefold law of return or anything like that, we are influenced from our past, whether it's society, that we're brought up, social conditionings, etc., expectations, and we're in this sort of process now, or this moon is currently highlighting things that we may be doing, as I said, out of obligation, as opposed to personal desires. So what are we going to do in order to move forward? Especially as new opportunities begin to reveal themselves in the light of this full moon. It's asking us to trust ourselves. This is the North Node, to lean into the unfamiliar territory and also to listen to our inner guidance, especially if feelings of guilt about leaving things or situations or the way of doing things behind start to rise. This is okay. As I said, we are moving from the well-trodden, familiar path, other people's expectations, obligations we are feeling, that pre-programming that we've had, into something new. So allow any feelings of guilt to arise and then let them fall, because we don't want to be attached to them. We don't want them to overcomplicate things, and we definitely do not want to be dragging them through as we move on into the North Node direction. Do so. Trust that inner knowing, trust the unknowing, the potential, and when you do this, you will be ultimately rewarded with the sense of freedom. You'll feel a lot lighter, less burdened, because you'll realize that a lot of the stuff that we are dragging around with us has nothing to do with us. It's actually other people's issues, stuff. And I will be writing something more about this on my Substack, and you'll find the link below. So let's have a look at this Water Grand Trine. It's sort of influencing things, especially with Mercury at 22 degrees of Scorpio. As I said, having just completed its retrograde cycle, Saturn is now direct at 25 degrees of Pisces, conjunct with Neptune. Neptune is currently a retrograde. It will be actually stationing direct on the 10th of December. And this is at the anaretic, the end degree point of Pisces. It's at 29 degrees of Pisces. And when these outer planets sort of slow down, this is an analogy that Pam Gregory mentioned a while ago. It's like a big ocean liner and it's slowing down. And as it begins to turn, there's this buildup of pressure. So this is what's happening with Neptune. There's like this buildup of pressure as it's slowing down to ready itself to station direct on the 10th of December. And we also have Jupiter, also retrograde, 24 degrees of Cancer. So with Mercury being in Scorpio, this is the sign of the secrets. It often relates to aspects of sort of like sexuality, sexual natures, financial natures, criminal natures that have actually been repressed, hidden. And it's opposite Uranus, which is at 28 degrees of Taurus. And while Uranus is connected with the truth, the awakening. So we've got what's coming into the sort of bright light of the super full moon. Almost a sense of purification and transmuting the darkness into light. We've got these sort of hidden, emotional, watery, really deep secrets coming to light in order to be sort of realized, purified, gotten out of our system, being exposed. So they're no longer hidden. And then with the full moon being with the north node and the south node being in those sort of squaring, this bringing about a sense of purification and transmuting the darkness. We've got power now to transmute the darkness into light. There is also this abundance of mutable energies. Pam Gregory mentions this in her video with these planets in the mutable signs. So Gemini, we have the moon. Virgo, we have the south node. Sagittarius, we've got the Mercury, the sun, and Mars. We've got Venus. So we've got in Pisces, we have Neptune, Saturn, the north node, and the mutable signs are fluid. They are malleable. They are formless. And all of this sort of like moving, waving, and undulating sort of currents is sort of heightened by Neptune. See that Neptune's at the anaretic degree of Pisces. Pisces is also that sort of deep emotional planet pulling on the hidden depths, so to speak. Then we've got Scorpio thrown in as well, all that sort of negative shadow side of it, if it's not dealt with properly. So it could very well be a time of overwhelm. So instead of feeling the sort of overwhelmed by these changes that are beginning to surface and making themselves known, encouraging us to do things about them, about the dissolvement, especially if things are changing, as if we're being pulled out of the familiarity into the unknown. It's very good advice to, if possible, lean into the potentiality of what these changes, this morphing can actually bring into manifestation. With Mars at 22 degrees of Sagittarius, it's actually making our exact square to Chiron, the wounded healer, which is retrograde at 22 degrees of Aries. And as Mars is the planetary ruler of Aries, this means that there will actually be support, especially in respect of in the healing journey that you have actually undertaken this year. It's bringing you closer to your truer needs, your truer sense of identity. Aries is all about the I am, who am I? And it's had a little bit of a shake-up this year. There may be the need to also sort of seek the next new adventure. There is a degree of restlessness and also a desire to forward something new. So again, we're moving out of stagnation, out of the familiarity into the new, and this will actually support any overwhelm or rising feelings of guilt as we're being pulled more and more towards the future and turning to look towards the future direction in which we want to head in. So good sort of as we're coming to the end of this calendar year. It's a 9-year. Things are closing out. Changes are really beginning to be evident. And if we're still hanging on to the past, it's going to be more and more overwhelmed for us. So, in summary, while there is a lot going on and priorities to sort of focus what's actually important to us, there is also this need to sort of like pause and acknowledge our inner growth, how far we have traveled. You may also be finding that you are in need of, or actually are asserting your boundaries, being a little bit more selective as to who and where you share your energies. But also be mindful that you don't get stuck in the mind. Gemini is very much into the mind, and we're seeing that with the rise of AI. It's very sort of visual in our mind. Everything, we do the sort of like they call the death or the doom scrolling on our mobile phone devices, and all of that is mind stuff. We need to sort of lean into and seek out the truth. And this is what Mercury, now writing itself after its retrograde journey in Scorpio, is doing. It's sort of bringing up those deep hidden truths, said usually around financial matters, sexuality. There's a sexual overtone or undertone, I should say, because it is Scorpio in them. So it's bringing those up to the surface, but also bringing them up in need of change as well. So on a sort of more social front, the last full moon gathering that I hold for this year will be taking place on the Thursday. So I do it on the evening before the actual timing of the full moon here in South Australia, down at Largs Bay North, I think it's called. We meet in the car park next to the sailing club just before 7:30. We will be going down to the sands at 7:30. So make sure you get there early. So that's coming up on the Thursday. On the Saturday, the WEA, which is the Workers' Education Association in Angus Street, is having their first ever Christmas market. I will be there with some of my feeds from Luna Noir Creations, some of my books, and also some of the journals that I import from India. It's from 10 to 1 o'clock. If you got nothing to do and you're in the city on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, we have a social open to all picnic taking place in South Terrace opposite the Theosophical Society. So that's near the corner of Hutt Street and South Terrace. Look for the purple temple banner if you would like to come along. It is weather dependent. Our weather is all over the place at the moment. I've chosen the opposite the Theosophical Society because their bookshop is open and I think from 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock onwards, and they have a wide array of books there. One of the few bookshops left in Adelaide that does, well, they've got a secondhand book section there, and they have a lot of spiritual, esoteric, metaphysical, magical books there as well at fantastic prices. So if you want me to come along, please feel free to do so. If there's something about this full moon that resonates with you, put comments below. I go back and look at them, and sometimes I even respond. And I've also put it on the temple's website. I've put the date for the Yamaya blessing. That's happening on the 2nd of January. I have yet to put it up on the Mystical Soul Academy's website. So a little bit of an update for this upcoming full moon, the last one for the year. I sort of a big clear out, and take care. I'll see you soon. Blessing.